Greetings and welcome. To begin, I would like to acknowledge that the CSU Monterey campus sits on the unceded territory of the Rumsen Ohlone people. I am Professor Umi Vaughan, Faculty Director of the Center for Black Student Success at CSUMB. The center engages and empowers African Diaspora students by providing academic, professional, and personal support, as well as cultural enrichment programming. The center is the hub and home for Black student life, working with campus and local community members to ensure that Black students succeed at CSUMB. This event is the first offering from the Katherine Dunham African Diaspora Performance Series. Presentations in the series expand Dunham's legacy as a dancer, choreographer, anthropologist, and activist by exploring connections among Black cultures and social justice struggles around the world. Welcome to our first program. We hope you enjoy it. We're joined by master drummer Kiazi Malonga, a son of the Congo and a son of the drum. We'll be treated to drum music and we'll discuss the history and culture around the drum. Welcome, Kiazi.
Thank you for having me, Umi. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm excited to have this conversation.
My tongue though. Nowadays, when somebody says, I'm going to the Congo, they're probably talking about one of the West Central African nations, the Democratic Republic of Congo or the Republic of Congo. But also, especially if you spell it with a K, Congo refers to an ancient African civilization, a lasting empire, and also a major source of genetic, cultural heritage, and style that spread throughout the African diaspora, including the US. So when you talk to people about your work, Kiazi, what do you tell them about the Congo as a background?
My goodness, that is it's a great question because it encompasses so much. My first introduction into Congolese culture, probably food, kind of familiar social family settings, of course, Dungoma. And then as I've gotten older, I've been able to travel back home more regularly and spend more time to kind of learn and discover myself and, where my father immigrated from. If I could grab into a few kind of small tidbits, what I pull from all of those experiences. In food, there's flavor, right? There's flavor, and that flavor kind of expresses itself through our cuisine, but then also through the way we live in life, right? And so the way we dance, the music, the ambiance, it's just, there's a swag about Congolese culture. And I say that not, just tooting the horn of the country that I'm from. There's really like a certain swag that is kind of noticed by others and that typically folks latch onto. I will also say resilience. Yes. Right? I say resilience because a lot of the time the Congolese has had in both Congos, Congo Brazzaville, which is the smaller former French colony, and Congo Kinshasa, which is the larger former Belgian colony, have had troubled histories politically, but that never once stopped the people from living, from experiencing life, from pushing forward and making best kind of the situations that were provided. So when you talk about that, resilience, even before colonialism, the Congo Kingdom, right? And so we were managed to keep our culture and still keep an identity in that area. Because you mentioned two countries, Congo Brazzaville, Congo Kinshasa, but there's also, as a part of the Congo Kingdom, Angola, the northern part of Angola. And then you also have, you spin into a little bit of Gabon, if you know your geography. So that whole kind of little curved part of Africa, that was the Congo Kingdom. And so Congo encompasses so much for me. I live it, I breathe it every day. I've dedicated my life and what I do outside of music to try to make my stamp and improve the quality of living. So it's just I would say that you're heading to the Congo. You can expect a huge treat. I expect to be blown off of your feet in a positive way, and you most likely will want to go back.
Okay. Well, as a master drummer, please talk to us about the drum. What is the drum called? How is it made? What is it used for? What are some of the techniques that drummers use to make drum talk and drum song happen?
Got it. So, as we mentioned, I'm from the Congo, and there are many different types of drums. As there in the smaller Congo, 53 different ethnic groups, and with geographically, the smaller Congo may be the size of California, a little bit bigger, right? But you have north of 53 different languages, not dialects, but languages, right? And each ethnic group has their own instrument, but the primary instrument throughout most of the Congo is the ngoma. And this is an ngoma right here. It's a beautiful drum. It's made out of, it's a log of a tree, right? So this is not put together. This was a trunk, right? And the tree that this drum comes from, there are a few different trees that it comes from. One is called Nsenga, and then another is called Ngongoma. And the drum has been a part of Congolese community, Congolese society for hundreds, if not thousands of years, in ways that we celebrate, in ways that we mourn, in ways that we socialize, in ways that we communicate. It's been a very, very integral part of our life and music and how we express ourselves. Also become creative and use our creative kind of juices to kind of live life.
Yes, sir. Can you talk a little bit about the main drum sounds that exist, name them, and maybe the kind of three-part structure of so many of the rhythms that the ngoma play?
So ngoma, similar to many other African diaspora style drumming, you have three principal sounds. The first is a bass, right? It's made in the center of the drum. And you have a tone, which is more of a kind of a flat, medium sound. And then you have a slap, which is more piercing. It's more sharp. And then spanning from those three, like anything in life, you always have variations, right? So there are variations on the tone, and there are also variations on the slap. And with those three sounds, in addition to singing and other percussive instruments, you create music.
Yes, sir. We're living, Kiazi, in some wild times, as you know. We have the corona crisis, climate change, political turmoil, a nation divided. These times call out some of the traditional uses of the drum to call together the community, to heal, to prepare, to steel ourselves for combat, to celebrate and promote life. Can you talk about some specific rhythms and the functions that they serve in Congolese society?
Definitely. I think that when you talk about the state of the world, really, I was going to say the United States, but the world right now, right? I think that, as probably many of us have reflected, 2020 has been a heck of a year, right? And there's a lot of challenges, a lot of hurdles, a lot of, kind of gut checks, looking in the mirror, trying to figure out where things are going. And I think that brings a lot of opportunity for healing, right? And in Congolese culture, there's a rhythm called Kingishila, and this rhythm is a rhythm that is played in a traditional spirituality belief system. You refer to this denomination as Bangunza. And so this rhythm is played during worship, much like you would have in a Western style church, African American church, whether it's Baptist or whatever other denomination, music that accompanies. And this rhythm, in addition to the ngoma is playing as a principal instrument, but you also have nsakala, which are shakers, and you also have bamboo. So you have that, and then you have a series of call and response chants, songs, and this is a rhythm that's used to really purify and create healing. Just like in many civilizations, people use spirituality to kind of help get through the hard times and realities that are hard to kind of to reflect on and process, right? We think to a higher being to kind of give us that faith, move forward, right? And the drum is a vehicle to kind of do that. And I just thought about this. So, and this comes from this, when I go back regularly, I go to the forest where with my drum Harvard, just to experience this instrument from the beginning.
Yes, sir.
The live tree. And this is nature, right? And so this tree, particularly, this is a Nsenga wood. There's sometimes, and this may be true for other trees as well, but there's some trees where you're cutting, and to this day they use axes, and you hit that vein and it'll gush water. It's literally like a pump from the earth.
A life spray.
You know what I'm saying? So it sprays, and there's something about the cleansingness of water from nature, right? Where you go and you're baptized, and while you wash yourself, you bathe, you clean off not only the physical dirt, but the trauma. And so this instrument, reflecting on where it comes from and it being a vessel for that water that's used to cleanse it, as we have transformed its form from a living tree to an instrument that's also living and breathing in another form, it still serves the same purpose.
Okay, before we demonstrate the rhythm, why don't you introduce the companies who are here with you this evening?
Okay, great. I can definitely do that. And before I actually do that, I want to just kind of pay respect and give respects to all of the elders that kind of helped create a space for us to do Congolese culture here. I kind of jumped past that, so So I just want to, my father was part of a large. Well, at the time it wasn't so large. My Kiazi Malonga came to this country with Uncle Tito's, Uncle Masamba, the Uncle Mbemba, Mabukaka, Tata Paul. There's so many, right, that they kind of set up this space for me to, because I was born here, to be able to have this Congolese experience in the United States. So I'm here because of them. The individuals who I'm drumming with now, I will call it a 3 generations. By that, I don't even want to refer to them as accompanist for respect, right? Because one is my uncle.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. One is my uncle, my single, I have 4. I'll say I have 4 teachers, right? My first is my father, right? They introduced me to the drum, taught me the ins and outs, and gave me all of the advice, kind of how to navigate around. Second, Batatu Ferdinand, Batatu Mankaba, Jankaba, as a second. And he kind of gave me the fire to play, right? Pops gave me the culture. My second teacher gave me the fire to want to really kind of get after it. And then the third, my single, which is my uncle who's here, taught me how to, he transitioned from an accompanist drummer to a soloist, right? So in the culture, that would be my parent, my father, through the drum, right? And then last, Yacent, I learned a lot of how to compose and how to perform this instrument through him. So those are my 4. I just wanted to pay respects to them. So I'll have, drumming with me today, Uncle Masingo, who actually was the third of 4 of my teachers. And then I also have my little bro, Mampus, Armel Mampuya, who I took under my wing. He came here at the age of 11 and he knew how to drum, but I just, like when I always have opportunities, I bring him along, and you guys will see he's really accomplished. And I think we have you know what I mean, on the last number getting down with. So
yes, sir. Kiazi, why don't you explain the rhythm in Nzobi?
Nzobi. Okay, Nzobi comes from the northern part of the Republic of Congo, I'm sorry. Also, it spills over to Gabon, right? A lot of these borders they just are artificial, and you have ethnic groups that span across both sides. So Nzobi is a rhythm that one normally has to be initiated into to play, and then also to participate in the ceremonies. Ceremonies are called by kind of the leader. But let me first explain to you Nzobi what it is. It's kind of a way in society. It's not a religion, but it's a way to kind of reinforce your spirituality in on an avenue. Like if you say you're a Christian, you can be Christian, but also participate in Nzobi, because we have Nganga. Nganga is a spiritual healer, right? But you can have an Nganga that specifically focuses on Nzobi. So Nzobi, oftentimes in a traditional sense, can be used to protect against, right? You have this new business in another part of town, and in this part of town, people tend to kind of steal a lot. Say your business is, sorry, we're in the Congo, right? Selling goats, right? You sell goats, you raise goats, you sell goats, and then for whatever reason, there's like somebody who steals goats in the night, right? Nzobi, if you are initiated and you become a part of this society, right, you can kind of protect yourself against things like that. If I come and I still own these goats, and whatever I sell or I eat it, I get sick. You know what I'm saying? So it's a way to kind of reinforce and strengthen your spirituality outside of religion that exists. So it's something that's taken very seriously. When you are inducted or brought into the Nzobi, you have to be an honest person, because you're spiritually stronger, more capable than the average person. Meaning, you can't steal, you can't lie, you can't be deceiving. You have to be clean-hearted in order to be initiated. Otherwise, you could abuse the power. So that's kind of the role that Nzobi plays, and we have a bunch of different ethnic groups that play it. Oftentimes, when they get together and they do the ceremonies, it can be to welcome a new group of people who are initiated. It can be a member who's passed away. It can be visitors or other groups of people who are coming, and you welcome them with the ceremony. So
is Nzobi the kind of thing that could steal a person, like protect a person against something like police brutality, or
to be honest, I mean, we're talking two different worlds. And oftentimes when Congolese, I would say even Africans, right? Because Africa is a very spiritual place. It's a very mystic place. There's always a discussion of how far-reaching that those mystic powers can come here, right? Because to be honest with you, I've seen like stuff that's hard to explain, and so I know a lot of people say, "Oh, when you talk about mystic, I don't believe in miracles," but there are definitely things that happen that are out of the ordinary. And so, could somebody practice Nzobi in theory to protect against police brutality or to protect against something? Yeah, you definitely could. If you went and you were initiated and you came back, you believe in it and you practice the rules that you kind of go through, then in theory that works for you, and the Nzobi then protects you.
Yes. Okay. Let's take a moment and hear Nzobi then. Shall we?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Now, let's move on and talk some about the rhythm called Bakongo.
Okay, Bakongo. So Bakongo, it's a common misconception. Bakongo is an ethnic group. And this is a fault of a lot of artists. People can sometimes generally be lazy, refer to a rhythm by the name of the ethnic group rather than the name of the specific. I play the Bakongo rhythm, play the Bakongo, and then after a while, you don't play Bakongo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It'd be like somebody saying, you know, I don't know. I mean, but it's just a kind of a lazy habit that created. So the rhythm in the Bakongo, there are roughly five principal rhythms, right? Five principal rhythms, four that we usually circulate in between. And the one that we'll be playing today is called Ntandu. Ntandu or Luntandu. And this is a rhythm that's done mostly in social settings. Marriage, gathering, get together, party, even also in wakes. If someone passes away who's a part of that community, you'll have the groups come and play. And the way it's set up, you have men dancing on one side, women on the other, with the drummers here, and a lot of different interaction. The particular vocabulary of the music, particularly the solo drum, the nguri ngoma, which is literal translation meaning the mother drum that calls and controls everything. Yes. It's a very dynamic language where you're communicating back and forth with the other drummers and with the dancers and with the people who are watching. So it's one that's, from a percussionist perspective, is one of the most challenging rhythms to master, right? Because you can fake it till you make it, but somebody who speaks the language knows whether your phrasing makes sense or not. You know what I mean? So it's, you know, music is just like writing a paper, man. I mean, you don't start with the conclusion and put your thesis at the end. You know what I mean? It all has to make sense, and music can be as in depth and detailed, and the need for organization applies the same to this drum music.
Yes, sir. Okay, let's go ahead and listen to Luntandu. Where, Kiazi, do you see the influence of Congo music throughout the Americas and also throughout the continent of Africa?
Shucks. So Congo has a very large influence. I believe the number is roughly around like 40 to 45% of all of the slaves that were taken in the transatlantic slave trade came from the Congo region, from the Congo Kingdom. And so naturally, you see Congo in Brazil, you see Congo in Cuba, all throughout the Caribbean. Anywhere in the Western Hemisphere where you have Africans in the diaspora, you see Congo in Georgia and in South Carolina, where we're talking about, in the America or North America rather. I think a lot of the influence here has been in music, the language even. We were doing down Congo line with Dimensions, where the different cultures that were being quoted was all, the theme was Congo. So they had us to represent the musicians from Congo. We had Cuban, Brazil, and Louisiana. And we happened to be doing a rehearsal where the Cubans went after us and they started singing, Spanish, but then they jumped to Kikomo. And we sitting there not paying attention. I'm texting, and all of a sudden I start hearing language that I understand. I'm like, you know what I mean? And then we asked them, like, afterward, we were so like to the point where we start singing a song with them. You know what I mean? And so after we had finished, we asked, man, how do you, where'd that come from? Oh no, we don't know the meanings of what we're singing. We just know it's Congo. And to get those meanings, they refer to, like, ask the grandpas who probably are passed on, far long and gone now. Right. But it's just there's a large influence in the Caribbean culture, and then how I see it in the Americas is just kind of swag of, or speaking specifically in North America, right here in the States, kind of the swag of African American people, the way we dance, focused on a lot of hip movements. That's all Congo. There's a huge horn culture that's created jazz and second line out of New Orleans, Louisiana, and there's a huge horn culture in the Congo with traditional horns. So you're talking like antelope and huge cow horns, right? And I'm actually doing a project with Bacchanal d'Afrique that's gonna kind of highlight that a little bit. So there's a number of different influences. I'm still learning, you know what I mean? Because there's so much to find out, and so much. I'm a student of this instrument. I'm a student of music, and it's more to learn. But it blows my mind every time I find out something.
Yes, sir. Kiazi, what has it been like for you as a Congolese American on one hand, and as a Black U.S. American? And also, why should Black Americans care anything about traditional Congolese culture?
So what has it been like in my experience? So I grew up with a strong sense of pride, right? Strong sense of pride. Pops always told us, he would point at you when he talked to you. And for some reason, that baby finger wouldn't be, it was always a point that was like that. But he told us, you guys are not from here. Don't feel like, I think because he realized that there was a sense of, not a need to belong, but just kind of maybe a sense of being lost in some, not everybody, but in the African American community, right? And so because we grew up in those spaces, went to school in those spaces, he let us know, you guys have family, you come from a rich culture, you have land, you have this, instrument, so much. So don't forget that, right? When you move, because that gives you a sense of pride. Keep your head up, and it's important for him to give us names that people mess up. I have some people. Sometimes people call me Kai. Sometimes I try to write down how they mess my name up, right? Because now it's just joy, but when you have to repeat your name to someone, no, Kiazi, that gives you, like, it makes you, you have to really reflect on who you are and be confident about that. So I think my experience first starts with that pride. Then, of course, you go to school, you get the African booty scratch area. So then you're like, dang, man, like, for real, I want to be scratching my booty. Like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, so you got to go through that as an adolescent. And then you got to move through life. And I think now I've really been able to embrace, like, both sides. My mother's from the States, so I'm really like an African American in that sense. And being able to see the similarities, being able to understand both cultures, right? So I understand how things move in the hood, but then I can go home to Congo and then sit there and have conversations with old people who don't speak French in the native language and still be able to grasp some of that too. So it's been a blessing to be able to have feet on both continents and to be able to try to be a bridge, right, through music, through the energy work that I'm doing, and just as a person, man, because it's kind of, with everything that's happening, not to make it political, but with everything that's happening, as just with, like, police brutality and African American communities struggling, continuously reminded that you're not welcome here. You know what I'm saying? Like, that message of we come from somewhere needs to be reintroduced to us and to the children, so that it's not only the year of return when everybody's going to Ghana, but there's a stronger connection. And I think that'll just be helpful to overall the well-being of the Africans outside of Africa.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I would like to say thank you, a huge matolo, to the Center for Black Student Success and Professor Umi. It was a pleasure to be here today. Thank you.
I want to say thanks to our viewing audience, no matter where you are. I want to say thank you and give a shout out to all the students at CSUMB who make up the Center for Black Student Success family. We see you, this is for you. I wanna say thank you to all the CBSS action team, Brian Porpening, Vanessa Lopez Littleton, Najoni Chow Garcia, and Bernadette Ortiz. I want to say thank you to the Mahea Uchiyama Center for International Dance that gave us the space. I want to say matondo to Armel Mapuya and Tata Masingo for drumming with us. And I want to say matondo, thank you to my friend, to my brother, Kiazi Malonga. Yes.